At 2,137 hours on September 13, 1942, Sergeant Mitchell Paige crouched in darkness on Edson's Ridge, Guadalcanal, his right hand resting on the traversing mechanism of an M1917 Browning machine gun, listening to voices speaking Japanese in the jungle 200 yards below his position. 3 machine gun positions, 30 yards apart, connected by shallow crawl trenches cut into coral limestone. Each position held 4 Marines and 1 gun, 12 men total in Paige's sector. Paige commanded Position 2, center of the line. To his left, Corporal Kelly, gunner, Private Totman, assistant. To his right, Private Lepart, gunner, Private First Class Gaston, assistant. Beside Paige, Corporal McNabb, his assistant gunner and best friend. 4,000 rounds of .30 caliber ammunition per position, 12,000 rounds total, belted in 250-round canvas feeds, stacked in ammunition boxes, 8 gallons of water per position, 6 fragmentation grenades. 1 field telephone connecting to company command post 60 yards behind them. The air smelled like jungle rot, gun oil and sweat. Temperature 84 degrees. Humidity suffocating. No moon. Overcast sky. Visibility 0 beyond 15 feet. Japanese voices growing louder. Paige checked his ammunition belt by touch, felt the brass cartridges. Smooth, clean, properly seated. His hands moved automatically. 6 weeks of night drills. No light needed. The voices stopped. Jungle went silent. Even the insects quit. Something was coming. The M1917 Browning weighed 41 pounds without tripod. Added tripod, water, ammunition, 103 pounds total. Fired 450 to 600 rounds per minute. Effective range 1,500 yards. Cooling system, water-jacketed barrel holding 1 gallon. The water was the problem. Sustained fire boiled water in 90 seconds. Steam vented through overflow valve. Water level dropped. Without water, barrel temperature exceeded 800 degrees. Metal warped. Headspace changed. Gun jammed. Position went silent. Standard Marine Corps. Doctrine required 4-man crew. Gunner operated trigger and traversing mechanism. Assistant gunner fed ammunition belts, cleared malfunctions. Ammunition carrier brought forward fresh belts, maintained supply. Water carrier refilled jacket from 5-gallon jerry cans. Lose 2 crew members, gun effectiveness dropped 70%. Lose 3, gun stopped functioning. Through September 12, 1942, Japanese forces on Guadalcanal had overrun 23 American machine gun positions. 87 Marines killed. Japanese tactics: ignore the gun, kill the crew, grenade assault, close assault, bayonet charge, target the men, capture the position. Average crew survival time under coordinated assault, 6 minutes. Behind Paige's position, 400 yards through jungle, Henderson Field, 2,600 feet of Marston matting runway, 64 aircraft. The only American airfield within 400 miles. If Henderson fell, air superiority collapsed. Japanese-controlled Solomon Islands. Australia, supply lines threatened. Pacific War timeline altered. Everything depended on holding this ridge. Mitchell Paige was born in 1,918 inches Charleroi, Pennsylvania. Coal mining town. His father worked underground. Died in shaft collapse, 1934. Mitchell was 16. Quit school. Worked the mines. Hated it. Joined Marines at 18, 1936. Escape from darkness. He wasn't college educated, wasn't officer material, but he understood machines, how they worked, how they failed, why they failed. Gunnery Sergeant School. Quantico. 1941. Specialized in machine gun mechanics. The M1917 fascinated him. Recoil operation. Belt feed mechanism. Water circulation system. He studied every component, every tolerance, every failure point. Training record, disassembled and reassembled, M1917, blindfolded in 4 minutes, 12 seconds. School record, cleared malfunction drills faster than any student in his class. Not because he was naturally gifted, because he practiced obsessively. Assigned to 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division, January 1942. Shipped to Guadalcanal, August 1942, 0 combat experience. But he knew his weapon better than men who'd fought for years. 6 weeks before September 13th, Paige started training his gun crews differently than other sergeants. He focused on one skill: night operations, reload drills in complete darkness, malfunction clearance by touch alone, no lights, no talking, pure tactile memory. His crews learned to swap barrels in 38 seconds, clear double feed jams in 22 seconds, reload 250-round belts by feel in 18 seconds. Other sergeants thought he was paranoid, wasting time on unrealistic scenarios. Paige's philosophy was simple. The gun doesn't care if you're scared, it just needs to work. His crew trusted him. Kelly, McNabb, Totman, Lepart, Gaston. They drilled every night for 6 weeks, same exercises, same darkness, until their hands remembered what their eyes couldn't see. September 12, 1942, Paige's section assigned, southern perimeter of Edson's Ridge. 3 gun positions, overlapping fields of fire, 150-yard front, 400 yards from Henderson Field runway. Intelligence brief that evening. Japanese preparing major assault. Estimated 2,000 infantry. Kawaguchi Brigade. Objective, Henderson Field. Expected time, after midnight. Paige spent the afternoon checking his positions. Ammunition, water, fields of fire, everything ready, everything perfect. By doctrine standards, his section was prepared. By Paige's standards, they'd know soon enough. At 2,200 hours, a trip flare ignited on the left flank, chemical light, bright white. Paige saw them immediately. 40 to 50 Japanese soldiers, 80 yards out, advancing in skirmish line through kunai grass. Corporal Kelly's gun opened fire first. 2,201 hours. Tracers arced red through darkness. Japanese soldiers scattered. Some fell. Others dove for cover. Return fire started immediately. Rifle shots. Type 92 machine gun bursts. Bullets, snapping overhead. Paige held fire. Too far. McNabb beside him, feeding belt through the receiver, ready but waiting. Paige watched the muzzle flashes. Counted soldiers, more than 50. Closer to 100. More than intelligence predicted. 60 yards. 50 yards. Close enough. 2,203 hours. Paige opened fire. Short bursts. 10 to 15 rounds. Targeting muzzle flashes. Methodical, controlled. The gun hammered. Brass ejected right. Links dropped left. McNabb fed the belt smoothly. Practiced motion. First belt. 250 rounds in 90 seconds. McNabb swapped the belt. 18 seconds. No malfunction. Training paid off. Private Lepart's gun joined from right flank. Now 3 guns firing. Interlocking fire. The Japanese advance stalled at 40 yards. Bodies visible in the muzzle flash strobing. Some moving, some not. 2,208 hours. Japanese pulled back. Not routing. Reorganizing. Voices in darkness. Officers shouting orders. Paige checked his gun. Barrel warm but not hot. Water jacket. 3/4 full. Good. He'd fired maybe 400 rounds. Kelly and Lepart combined. Another 600. Total ammunition expended. 1,000 rounds. 11,000 remaining. The silence returned. Paige listened. Japanese voices. Farther back now. Maybe 150 yards. They were bringing up reinforcements. Regrouping. This was just the probing attack. Testing American positions. Finding weaknesses. The real assault was coming. Paige reloaded his belt. Checked the water level. Glanced left at Kelly's position. glanced right at Leipart's. Everyone still there, everyone functional, for now. He wiped sweat from his face, looked at his watch. 2,209 hours. 2,221 hours. The jungle went silent again. No bird sounds, no insects, no wind through the kunai grass, just breathing, heartbeats, the faint creak of equipment shifting. Paige's hand tightened on the gun's spade grips. McNabb fed a fresh belt through the receiver. 250 rounds. Belt laid out smooth, no kinks, no twists. Then Japanese voices, shouting, coordinated, not scattered like before. Organized, 22-23 hours. Trip flares ignited across the entire front. Chemical white light flooding the ridge. Paige saw them and his stomach dropped. Not 100 soldiers, 400, maybe more. 3 waves, 50 yards apart. First wave, 150 soldiers in organized lines. Second wave, another 150. Third wave, reserves, moving forward to exploit breakthroughs. All concentrated on his 50-yard sector. The entire Kawaguchi Brigade assault focused on this single point. Corporal Kelly opened fire immediately. Left flank gun hammering. Leipart joined from the right. Both guns at full cyclic rate. Tracers crisscrossing through darkness, Japanese soldiers falling, but more behind them, always more. Paige waited. 80 yards, 70, 60. McNabb beside him. Sarge. Paige. Wait. 50 yards. Japanese soldiers visible now. Individual faces, young men, determined, screaming. Bayonets fixed on Arisaka rifles. Type 99 grenades on belt, harnesses. Paige fired. Full cyclic rate, 600 rounds per minute. The gun shook. Brass shell casings ejected in a steady stream. Paige traversed left to right. Covering his 50-yard front, methodical sweeps, Japanese soldiers dropping, 5, 10, 15, but the waves kept coming. The mathematical problem was immediate and obvious. 3 guns, 12 Marines, against 400 attackers. Even with perfect accuracy, even with 0 malfunctions, the numbers didn't work. They couldn't kill fast enough. Couldn't stop everyone. 2,226 hours. First grenade landed, 15 feet from Paige's position. He saw it arc through air, black sphere, fused, explosion, coral fragments, shrapnel, pressure wave. McNabb grunted. Hit in the shoulder, but he kept feeding belt. Left-handed now. Right arm useless. Blood soaking his utilities. Paige kept firing. Continuous bursts. The barrel heating rapidly. Water jacket temperature rising. He could hear water boiling inside. Steam venting through. Overflow valve. Pressure building. First belt empty. 250 rounds in 35 seconds. McNabb swapped belt left-handed. 22 seconds. Slower than drill. But no malfunction. Belt fed smooth. Gun kept firing. Japanese at 30 yards now. Close enough to see expressions. Terror, determination, youth. Paige recognized that look. Same look he'd seen in mirror before his first patrol. Fear controlled by duty. He shot them anyway. Kelly's gun fell silent. 2,228 hours. Paige glanced left. Kelly slumped over his M1917. Not moving. Totman trying to pull him back. Struggling with dead weight. Grenade landed in their position. Black sphere tumbling into the hole. Explosion. Both men down. Kelly. Totman. Dead or dying. Left flank gone. Japanese soldiers immediately exploited the gap. 40 soldiers pouring through Kelly's position. No gun to stop them. No fire to slow them. They were through the line. Paige traversed left. Fired into the breach. 10-round bursts. Targeting. Center mass. Soldiers dropped. 6, 8, 10. But others kept coming. Stepping over bodies. Unstoppable momentum. Leipart's gun hammering from right flank. But Japanese pressure increasing there too. Both flanks under concentrated assault. Center position, Paige's position, the only thing holding. his barrel glowing dull red in darkness, water jacket nearly empty. McNabb. Need water. Paige couldn't leave the gun. Couldn't stop firing. Japanese 20 yards away now. Close enough for accurate grenade throws. 3 grenades landed within 5 seconds. Explosions walking toward his position. 2,232 hours. Grenade landed directly in Paige's fighting hole. He saw it. Dark sphere against coral. 3-second fuse, maybe less. Paige kicked it. Boot connecting with steel. Grenade skittered 8 feet out. Exploded mid-air. Shrapnel sprayed. McNabb took hits in chest and neck. Arterial spray. He fell backward into the trench, still holding ammunition belt in his left hand. Dead hands, gripping canvas. Paige alone now, gun still firing, belt feeding from McNabb's corpse. 50 rounds left, then empty. Paige reached for new belt. Right hand on spade grip. Trigger depressed, gun firing. Left hand grabbed belt, threaded it through feed mechanism. One-handed reload. Technique never taught. Never trained. Physically awkward, but possible. Belt fed, gun fired. No malfunction. 2,234 hours. Leipart's gun stopped. Right flank. Paige looked. Japanese soldiers in the trench. Hand to hand. Leipart fighting with entrenching tool. Gaston with bayonet. 3 Japanese soldiers on them. Then 4. Then 6. Leipart died fighting. Gaston died fighting. Right flank gone. 6 crew members dead. All 6. Kelly, Totman, McNabb, Leipart, Gaston. The 6th man, Private Johnson, water carrier killed by grenade fragment during first wave. Paige alone on Edson's ridge. 50-yard defensive front. Against 350 Japanese soldiers still combat effective. Attacking from 3 directions. Front. Left flank through Kelly's position. Right flank through Leipart's position. Standard Marine Corps doctrine. Fall back when position untenable. Preserve the Marine. Live to fight at secondary defensive line. Company command post 60 yards behind him could reach it in 30 seconds. Safety. Survival. But if he abandoned this position, Japanese would breach the line completely. Nothing between them and Henderson Field except 400 yards of jungle. They'd reach the runway by dawn. Destroy aircraft. Overrun the airfield. Guadalcanal lost. Paige made his calculation in 2 seconds. Stayed 2,235 hours. His gun's barrel overheating. Water jacket empty. No more steam. Just dry metal heating past tolerances. Barrel warping. Headspace changing. Gun would jam in 30 seconds. Maybe less. But he had 2 more guns. Kelly's position left. Leipart's position right. Both 30 yards away, both loaded, both functional. Japanese soldiers between him and those weapons. Paige did something no training manual described, no doctrine anticipated, no Marine had ever attempted. He lifted the M1917 off its tripod, 41 pounds of gun, 20 pounds of tripod. 61 pounds total, lifted it, held it on his right hip, left hand supporting barrel jacket, right hand on spade grips, finger on trigger, fired from the hip while walking fire. Moving across 30 yards of open ground. Toward Kelly's position, Japanese soldiers scattering, diving for cover. They didn't expect this. 1 Marine, carrying machine gun. Firing continuously, walking through their assault line. Paige crossed 30 yards. 17 seconds. Bullets snapping past his head. 1 round creased his left shoulder. Burned. He didn't stop. Reached Kelly's position. Set gun down. Gun number 1. Barrel glowing orange. Overheated. Unusable for 10 minutes minimum. Needed cooling time. Gun number 2. Kelly's M1917. Cold barrel. Full water jacket. 3,800 rounds of ammunition stacked beside the position. Kelly and Totman's bodies beside it. Paige pushed the bodies aside. No time for respect, no time for grief. Positioned himself behind gun number 2. Charged the weapon. Checked feed mechanism. Verified headspace by feel. Grabbed spade grips. Japanese soldiers 25 yards out, regrouping, preparing another rush. They'd seen him move, knew now there was only one Marine, one man between them and Henderson Field. They came at him screaming. Paige opened fire. 2,237 hours. Paige behind gun number 2. 30 yards left of his original position. Japanese soldiers regrouping 25 yards out. 60, maybe 70 soldiers. They knew the situation now. One Marine, 3 gun positions. Only one gun active at any moment. They concentrated fire on Kelly's position, where Paige was now. Rifle fire. Type 92 machine gun fire from their own weapons brought forward. Bullets hitting coral. Ricochets whining. Fragments peppering the fighting hole. Paige hunched low, returned fire, short bursts. 5 rounds, traverse. 5 rounds, traverse. Precise, controlled. Not trying to kill everyone, trying to make them cautious. Make them think the position was still fully manned. Make them hesitate. 2,240 hours. Japanese rushed. 20 soldiers. Bayonets fixed. Combat knives drawn. Screaming. Traditional banzai charge. Close assault to overwhelm defensive position through shock and violence. Paige fired full cyclic rate. 600 rounds per minute into 20-yard kill zone. 14 Japanese soldiers fell in 8 seconds, bodies hitting ground, rolling. Still, the others broke off, retreated to tree line, regrouped. But Paige understood. They'd test again. Soon. And gun number 2 was heating up. Barrel temperature climbing. Water jacket half empty. Steam venting. 5 minutes maximum before this gun became unusable. Then he'd need gun number 3. Leipart's position. 60 yards right. Japanese controlled the ground between here and there. They'd seen him move once, would be watching for it again. 2,243 hours. Japanese voices. Different direction. Right side. They were flanking. Moving around to cut off access to Leipart's gun. Standard infantry tactics. Fix the enemy in place. Maneuver around flanks. Envelop and destroy. Paige made his decision. Abandoned gun number 2 while still functional. 3,000 rounds of ammunition left in that position. Couldn't carry it. Had to leave it. Grabbed one belt. 250 rounds. Draped it over his shoulders. Left the rest. Moved toward Leipart's position. Crawling through the connecting trench. 18 inches deep. Cut into coral. Sharp edges. His elbows bleeding. Knees torn through utilities. 60 yards in darkness. Japanese soldiers above the trench, moving parallel. He heard boots on coral. Voices. Close. 6 feet maybe. He froze. Stayed perfectly still. Face pressed into coral dust. Breathing slow. Quiet. They passed. Didn't see him. Too focused on gun positions. Expecting him to be stationary. Defending fixed location. Not moving between positions. 2,247 hours. Paige reached Leipart's position. Gun number 3. Leipart's body still there. Gaston's body. Both dead from bayonet wounds. Multiple stab wounds. They'd fought hard, fought close. Lost anyway. Paige pulled the bodies out. Positioned them behind the fighting hole. Couldn't leave them in his way. Couldn't work around corpses. Positioned himself behind the M1917, gun number 3. Cold barrel. Full water jacket. 4,000 rounds of ammunition. Untouched since Leipart died. He was 60 yards right of where Japanese expected him. They were still concentrating fire on gun number 2. Kelly's old position. Empty now. Paige watched them. 40 soldiers advancing cautiously on that position, expecting resistance, finding none. They reached Kelly's position, stood up, confused. Called out in Japanese. Officers shouting, "Where did the Marine go?" Paige opened fire from 60 yards, right, caught them in exposed position, no cover, standing in the open. 23 Japanese soldiers fell in the first 10 seconds. The others scattered, dove for cover, retreated. Now they knew. The Marine was mobile, moving between positions, creating illusion of multiple defenders. They adjusted their tactics, started firing at all 3 gun positions simultaneously, divided their fire, suppressive fire, keeping all positions under pressure. But their assault momentum was broken. They were reacting now, not attacking. Defensive mindset. Cautious. Off balance. Paige had bought time, maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. 2,253 hours. Paige developed his system, not planned, not calculated, born from necessity, born from watching Japanese tactical responses, understanding their patterns. Fire from gun number 3, 200 rounds, barrel heating, Japanese concentrating fire on this position. Move to gun number 1, 30 yards back left, his original position, gun cooled by now, 15 minutes since abandonment. Barrel temperature dropped to safe range. Fire 200 rounds, Japanese shifting fire left. Confused. Move to gun number 2, 30 yards center. Fire 200 rounds. Japanese shifting fire center. Move back to gun number 3, right flank. The cycle. Each gun got 5 to 6 minutes cooling time between firing sequences. Water jackets maintaining temperature, barrels staying functional, no warping, no jamming, continuous rotation, continuous fire, the movement itself, 30 to 60 yards each time. Crawling through trenches, sometimes over open ground when necessary. Carrying ammunition belts, 20 pounds per belt, his shoulders screaming, hands bleeding from coral cuts, face torn. But he kept moving. 2,258 hours, Japanese trying to track him. They heard gunfire from left, concentrated fire there, mortar rounds landing near gun 1, then gun fired from right. They shifted fire right, mortars adjusting. Then center gun fired. They shifted again. Confusion spreading through Japanese ranks. How many Marines left? Officers shouting contradictory orders, some soldiers advancing, others holding position. No coordination. No unified assault, the illusion working. Paige maintained the deception. 3 guns, 3 positions, rotating fire, Japanese believing multiple crews still alive, multiple Marines still fighting. Reality. 1 gun active at any moment, 1 Marine, moving constantly. 2,304 hours. Gun number 2's water jacket ran dry completely. Paige was at gun number 1 when it happened. Saw steam stop venting from gun 2's position. Knew what it meant. That gun was finished. Couldn't refill the jacket. Would require 60 seconds of exposure. Crossing open ground. Carrying 5-gallon jerry can. Impossible under current fire. Abandoned gun number 2 permanently. Kelly's position silent now. For good. 2 guns remaining. Gun 1 and gun 3. 6,000 rounds total ammunition. Rotating between 2 positions, now instead of 3. Longer cooling periods needed, riskier, margin for error shrinking, but still fighting, still holding, still alive. Japanese assault entering 3rd hour. 300 soldiers committed, 90 confirmed dead in Paige's sector, maybe more wounded. Evacuated to rear. Yet they kept coming. Determined, professional, following orders. Taking casualties. Attacking. 2,309 hours. They changed tactics again. 2,309 hours. Japanese infantry stopped frontal assaults, shifted to infiltration tactics. Small groups, 3 to 4 soldiers, moving through jungle undergrowth, using darkness, using terrain, trying to locate Paige's exact position, trying to fix him in place for mortar strike or coordinated rush. Paige heard them. Right flank, boots on coral, controlled breathing, whispered Japanese, equipment rattling, close, maybe 20 feet from gun number 3. He was at gun number 1. 60 yards away. They were moving on his inactive position. If they reached gun 3, destroyed it. Captured ammunition. He'd be down to 1 weapon. No rotation possible, no cooling time. That gun would overheat and fail within 10 minutes of sustained fire. Paige moved. Fastest crawl of his life. 60 yards. Through the connecting trench, coral tearing his uniform. His skin didn't matter. 45 seconds. Reached gun number 3. Japanese infiltrators 15 feet away. Other side of the fighting hole. He couldn't see them in darkness. Heard them moving. Heard metal clicking. Grenade pins being pulled. Paige pulled his own grenade. Pulled pin. Through blind. Into the darkness where the sounds came from. Explosion. 15 feet out. Orange flash. Screams. Japanese voices. High-pitched. Pain. Terror. Bodies hitting ground. But now they knew exactly where he was. Mortars started. Japanese Type 89 50mm mortars. High-angle fire. Indirect. Deadly. First round landed 40 yards away. Ranging shot. Second round 30 yards. Walking the mortars toward his position. Standard artillery procedure. Bracketing the target. 20 yards. Explosion shook the ground. Coral fragments spraying. Third round incoming. Paige heard it. Distinctive whistle. Mortar round descending. 15 yards out. He pressed flat. Explosion. Pressure wave. Shrapnel passing overhead. Close. Next round would be direct hit. Paige moved. Back to gun number 1. Left his position just as fourth mortar round landed. Direct hit on gun number 3's fighting hole. Explosion obliterated the position. Gun destroyed. Tripod bent. Ammunition boxes scattered. Burning. Gun number 3 gone. Permanently. 1 gun remaining. Gun number 1. Paige's original position. 2,000 rounds of ammunition left. 1 functional M1917. No rotation possible now. No cooling between firing sequences. When this gun overheated, he was done. No backup, no reserve. Just rifle and pistol, and grenades. Against 200 Japanese soldiers still combat effective. 2,315 hours. Paige, behind his last gun. Japanese regrouping. They'd destroyed one position with mortars. New tactic worked. Brought mortars forward. Prepared to repeat. Targeting gun number 1 now, where Paige was. First ranging shot. 35 yards left. Paige fired at the mortar position. Muzzle flash visible. 80 yards out. 5-round burst. Probably missed, but made them cautious. Second mortar round incoming. 20 yards right. Closer. Adjusting. Japanese infantry advancing during mortar fire, using indirect fire as cover. 60 soldiers. 2 groups. 30 from left. 30 from right. Pincer movement. Classic envelopment. Squeezing him between converging forces. Paige had to choose. Target left group or right group. Couldn't engage both. Not enough time. Not enough ammunition. Whichever group he didn't engage would reach his position. Overrun him. Kill him. He chose left group. Closer. 30 yards. Fired full cyclic rate. Swept the entire group. 20 yards of jungle. Continuous fire. Barrel. Heating rapidly. Water boiling. Steam venting. 15 soldiers fell. Others scattered. Left group broken. Right group still coming. 25 yards now. 20. Paige traversed right. Fired. But barrel was glowing. Water jacket nearly empty. Rate of fire slowing. Gun cycling slower. Overheating affecting mechanism. Bolt speed decreasing. 15 yards. Paige fired. 5 soldiers fell. Others kept coming. 10 yards. Paige's gun jammed. Belt feed malfunction. Hot metal expanded. Tolerances changed. Belt wouldn't feed. He pulled the charging handle. Tried to clear it. Stuck. Metal seized. Gun number 1 dead. No more ammunition. No more guns. No more defensive positions. 2,328 hours. Paige's last stand. 1 jammed machine gun. Japanese soldiers 10 yards away. Coming fast. He drew his pistol. Colt 1911. 7 rounds. 45 caliber. Fired. 1 soldier down. 2. 3. 4 rounds remaining. More soldiers coming. 20 of them. Bayonets fixed. Screaming. Then, rifle fire from behind. American rifles. M1 Garand's. Distinctive 8-round clip ping. Full platoon, 40 Marines, charging past Paige's position. Into Japanese soldiers. Lieutenant Morrison leading. Reinforcements, finally. Hand-to-hand combat. Americans and Japanese mixed together. Bayonets, rifle butts, knives, entrenching tools. Savage close combat. Japanese soldiers fighting. Dying. Retreating. Breaking. Running back into jungle. 000. 2 hours. September 14th. 1942. Assault over. Japanese forces retreating. Broken. Defeated. Edson's Ridge held. Henderson Field secure. Paige still at gun number 1. Pistol in hand. 2 rounds left. Body shaking. Not fear. Adrenaline crash. Exhaustion. Shock. He'd been fighting continuously for 2 hours, 41 minutes. Alone for 2 hours, 7 minutes. He looked at his hands. Burned. Bleeding. Covered in coral dust and blood. Some his, some not. His utilities torn, soaked with sweat. Face cut. Shoulder creased by bullet. Ears ringing. Partially deaf from muzzle blast. But alive. 0008 hours. Lieutenant Morrison reached Paige's position. Saw 3 destroyed machine gun emplacements. Empty ammunition boxes. Thousands of spent shell casings. Coral torn apart by grenades. 6 dead Marines. 1 sergeant standing. Morrison. Report. Paige. Position held, sir. Morrison looked past Paige. Counted Japanese bodies in 50-yard sector. Stopped at 98. Couldn't count them all. Too many. Too dark. Too scattered. More in the jungle. Wounded evacuated by retreating forces. Morrison looked back at Paige. 1 Marine. 3 guns. 12,000 empty shell casings scattered across 3 positions. He understood what happened. Couldn't quite believe it, but understood. Morrison. You held alone? Paige. Yes, sir. Morrison. How long? Paige. 2 hours, maybe more. Lost track. Morrison had no response. No training prepared officers for this. No manual describes solo defense of 50-yard front against 400 attackers. For 2 hours. Successfully. 001. 5 hours. Corpsman arrived. Tried to treat Paige. He refused initially. Wanted to stay at his position. In case they come back. They weren't coming back. Japanese assault completely broken. Kawaguchi Brigade retreating south. Guadalcanal campaign turning point. Battle for Henderson Field over. Americans won, Corpsman insisted. Examined Paige. Both hands. 2nd-degree burns from hot metal. Multiple shrapnel wounds. Arms, legs, back, face. Bullet crease. Left shoulder. Superficial. Perforated eardrum. Right ear. Severe dehydration. Borderline shock. Blood loss. Moderate. He didn't feel any of it. Couldn't feel anything except exhaustion. His body shutting down. Adrenaline gone. Just tired. So tired. 0034 hours. Company commander arrived. Captain Williams. Surveyed the defensive sector. 3 gun positions. Rotation pattern obvious from ammunition distribution. Movement trenches between positions. The system Paige invented. The doctrine he created. Under fire. Alone. Desperate. Williams. How'd you do it? Paige. Couldn't let them through, sir. Williams. Your crew? Paige. All KIA, sir. First 40 minutes. Williams. And you stayed? Paige looked at Henderson Field. 400 yards away. Dawn light showing runway. Aircraft visible. Ground crews already working. Everything normal. Everything he'd protected. Paige. Didn't have a choice, sir. Position couldn't fall. Williams nodded. Understood. That was the Marine Corps. Mission first. Position assigned. Position held. Regardless of cost. Regardless of odds. The mission was everything. Paige had understood that, had proven it, had held a 50-yard defensive front alone for 2 hours against 400 Japanese soldiers. Because the alternative was unacceptable. Henderson Field stood. Therefore, the position held. Simple mathematics. 0047 hours. Sun rising over Guadalcanal. Full daylight. Paige finally saw the complete battlefield. Nearly 100 Japanese bodies visible in his sector. His 6 crew members covered with shelter halves. Kelly, McNabb, Totman, Lepart, Gaston, Johnson. He sat beside them. Dawn light, silence. Just sat. Nothing to say. Nothing that mattered. They'd done their job. He'd finished it. That was enough. The 15th of September 1942. Division Headquarters, Guadalcanal. Formal after-action review. Battalion staff officers, intelligence officers, operations officers, all wanting to understand what happened on Edson's Ridge. Paige gave his report. Technical, precise, no embellishment. Described the Japanese assault. Estimated 400 soldiers concentrated on his sector. Described crew casualties. All 6 dead within first 40 minutes. Described his decision to stay. Position couldn't be abandoned. Henderson Field, 400 yards behind. Then described his system. 3 machine guns, sequential firing, rotation pattern, fire gun 1 until barrel heated. Move to gun 2, fire until heated. Move to gun 3, back to gun 1. Continuous. Cycle. Each gun cooling while others fired. Maintaining sustained fire for 2 hours, 7 minutes. Officers taking notes, asking questions. How did you move between positions under fire? Crawled through trenches. How did you operate gun alone? Left hand fed belt while right hand fired. How did you manage ammunition? Carried 1 belt per movement. Left the rest. How did you avoid mortars? Moved before they could bracket position. How did you maintain psychological pressure? Kept them guessing. Made them think multiple Marines still fighting. Every answer clinical, factual. No drama. No heroics, just mechanics, just problem solving under pressure. Officers realizing they were witnessing something unprecedented. One enlisted Marine inventing new doctrine, in combat, under fire. Successfully. September 18. Medal of Honor recommendation submitted by Captain Williams. Citation written by Battalion Commander. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, at the risk of his life above beyond the call of duty. Specific details documented. Solo operation of 3 machine guns. Estimated 98 enemy casualties confirmed. Position held 2 hours 41 minutes without relief. Critical junction point preserved. Henderson Field secured. Recommendation forwarded through division, through corps, through Pacific Command. Every level approved immediately. No debate, no discussion. The action spoke for itself. October 1942. Paige evacuated stateside. Medical treatment required. Hands needed surgery. Burns debrided. Shrapnel removed. Skin grafts. Hearing damage permanent. Right ear 60% loss. Left ear 30%. Would never fully recover. But he'd live. Fight again if necessary. November 1942. Paige assigned to Marine Corps Base Quantico. Light duty during recovery. But command had different plans. They wanted him teaching. Wanted his experience transmitted to other Marines. Other machine gunners. His improvised system formalized into doctrine. December 1942. First classes began. Paige instructing machine gun crews. Teaching rotation techniques. Teaching solo operation procedures. Teaching ammunition management under sustained fire. Teaching movement under indirect fire. Teaching psychological deception through tactical mobility. Students initially skeptical. 1 Marine holding 50 yards against 400 enemies? Impossible. Exaggeration. Propaganda. Then Paige showed his hands, showed the scars, showed the burns, showed the missing parts of his fingers, showed the documentation. After-action reports. Japanese documents captured later confirming casualties. Intelligence estimates. Aerial photographs of the battlefield showing 3 gun positions, the evidence irrefutable. Students stopped questioning, started learning. The 21st of May, 1943. White House, Washington, D.C. Medal of Honor ceremony. President Franklin Roosevelt presiding. Paige in dress blues. Hands still bandaged partially, burns healing slowly, face scarred. But, standing, presenting well. Roosevelt read the citation. Entire action described. Japanese assault. Crew deaths. Solo defense. 2 hours 41 minutes. 98 confirmed enemy casualties. Henderson Field preserved. Guadalcanal campaign secured. Pacific War timeline maintained. Roosevelt looked at Paige, studied him. Young man, 25 years old. Coal miner's son. No college, no privilege, just determination, just refusal to quit. Roosevelt, you held alone, Sergeant? Paige. Yes, Mr. President. Roosevelt, for over 2 hours? Paige, yes, sir. Roosevelt, how? Paige paused, considered the question. How to explain desperate improvisation? How to describe innovation born from necessity? How to articulate the simple logic that position couldn't fall, therefore didn't fall? Paige, couldn't leave, sir. Others counting on me. Roosevelt, your crew was already gone. Paige, yes, sir. But Henderson Field wasn't. Aircraft weren't. Marines at the airfield weren't. They were. All counting on that position holding. I was the only one left to hold it. Roosevelt nodded. Understood completely. Duty transcending personal survival. Mission superseding individual safety. The essence of military service. The definition of heroism. Roosevelt placed the Medal of Honor around Paige's neck. Light blue ribbon. Bronze star. Simple design. Enormous weight. Photographers captured the moment. Young Marine. Scarred hands. Medal of Honor. President Roosevelt. Historic moment. Image would become iconic. Published in newspapers nationwide. Life magazine, Signal Corps publications, recruiting posters. But Paige wasn't thinking about publicity, wasn't thinking about recognition, was thinking about 6 Marines. Kelly, McNabb, Totman, Laypart, Gaston, Johnson, dead on Edson's Ridge. Covered with shelter halves. Buried in military cemetery. Graves he'd never visited. Names he'd never forget. The medal wasn't for him, was for them, for holding their position, for finishing their mission, for making their deaths mean something. Roosevelt shook Paige's hand, carefully, mindful of burns. Flashbulbs popped. Ceremony concluded. Paige saluted, about-faced, marched out. Outside the White House, reporters waiting. Questions shouted. How does it feel? What were you thinking? Were you scared? How many did you kill? Paige walked past them. Said nothing. Climbed into staff car. Returned to Quantico. He had classes to teach. Marines to train. Lives to save through lessons learned in darkness on a coral ridge halfway around the world. The ceremony was over. The work continued. Summer, 1943, Marine Corps Schools, Quantico, Virginia. Paige teaching advanced machine gun tactics. 6 classes per week, 40 students per class, sergeants and corporals. Some combat veterans from Guadalcanal, most new to Pacific Theater, all needing to understand what Paige had proven. The curriculum wasn't from any manual, was from September 13th, 1942, from 2 hours 41 minutes of desperate improvisation that became doctrine. Paige's first principle: sustained defense through tactical displacement. When crew casualties occur, don't abandon position, adapt. Move between prepared positions, create illusion of strength through mobility, make the enemy think multiple crews still fighting, force them to divide attention, divide fire, break their momentum. Second principle: ammunition management under sustained fire. Standard doctrine said conserve ammunition, fire controlled bursts, make every round count. Paige taught different philosophy. Psychological impact matters more than round count. 200 rounds forcing enemy to take cover buys more time than 20 rounds, achieving perfect accuracy. Suppression equals survival. Third principle, weapon rotation for thermal management. Water-cooled machine guns overheat. Doctrine said maintain crew to manage cooling. Paige proved one Marine could manage 3 guns through sequential firing. Fire 1 gun to thermal. Limit. Move to second gun. First gun cools. Return and repeat. Mathematics simple. 3 guns, 5-minute cooling periods. Continuous fire possible for hours. Fourth principle. Solo operation possible when necessary. Standard doctrine required 4-man crew minimum. Paige proved one Marine could operate the system. Not optimal, not preferred. But possible. When crew dies, mission doesn't end, position doesn't fall, individual adapts, continues fighting, holds ground. Fifth principle. Psychological warfare through tactical deception. Enemy expects static defense, expects predictable behavior. Paige taught unpredictability, move constantly, fire from unexpected positions, force enemy to guess, make them cautious. Hesitation equals advantage. The students absorbed every word, took notes, asked questions, practiced techniques on training ranges, learned to move between gun positions, learned one-handed belt feeding, learned thermal management, learned tactical displacement under simulated fire. September 1943. Marine Corps, officially revised Field Manual 23-45. Browning machine gun caliber 30 M1917. New section added. Emergency solo operation procedures. Credited to Combat Analysis, Guadalcanal Campaign. No mention of Paige by name. Military doesn't name doctrine after individuals while they're still serving. But everyone knew. Every machine gunner in the Corps knew whose techniques filled those pages. December 1943. Paige received orders. Return to combat duty. Pacific Theater. 1st Marine Division reforming after Guadalcanal. Preparing for next operation. Cape Gloucester. New Britain. More jungle, more Japanese, more machine gun positions to defend. Paige shipped out January 1944. Back to war, back to the Pacific. This time as a platoon sergeant, leading 30 Marines. 4 machine gun crews, 12 guns total. He trained them during the voyage. Same principles, same techniques, same doctrine he'd invented in darkness on Edson's Ridge. February 1944, Cape Gloucester, New Britain. Dense jungle, daily rain, mud everywhere. 1st Marine Division pushing inland. Japanese resistance heavy. Entrenched positions. Coordinated counterattacks. Professional defense. Paige's platoon assigned perimeter security. 4 machine gun positions. Overlapping fields of fire. Familiar arrangement. Similar to Guadalcanal. Different terrain. Same mission. The 24th of February 1944. Japanese night attack. Estimated 200 soldiers. 3-pronged assault. Standard tactics. Trying to overwhelm defensive positions through simultaneous pressure. Textbook infantry maneuver. But Paige's crews weren't textbook. Were trained on Edson's Ridge principles. When Japanese concentrated fire on position 1, the crew didn't stay static, displaced to alternate position, kept firing. When mortars targeted position 3, crew moved, relocated, maintained fire from unexpected angle. Japanese assault confused, disoriented. Expected static defense. Found mobile resistance. Their coordination broke down. Fire discipline collapsed. Officers shouting contradictory orders. Soldiers hesitating. Paige's platoon held. 0 casualties. 43 Japanese soldiers killed. Assault broken. Enemy retreated. Position intact. After action report filed by company commander. Enemy attack defeated through innovative defensive tactics. Machine gun crews employed tactical displacement and coordinated fire movement. Highly effective. The report didn't mention Paige specifically, didn't need to. Division staff officers read it, recognized the techniques, understood the source. One sergeant's September 1942 improvisation, becoming standard procedure across the division. March through August 1944. Paige's platoon engaged in 14 more defensive actions. Cape Gloucester, then Pavuvu, then Peleliu. Every engagement successful, every position held. Casualties: 3 wounded, 0 killed in his platoon. Kill ratio: estimated 300 Japanese casualties against his positions. Other platoons noticed. Other sergeants asked questions. How does Paige's platoon survive every engagement? How do they maintain such effectiveness? What's different about their tactics? The answer was simple. They learned from Edson's Ridge, learned from one Marine's desperate innovation, learned that doctrine evolves through battlefield necessity, that survival requires adaptation, that the best solutions come from those fighting, not those theorizing. September 1944. Pacific Command issued theater-wide tactical bulletin. Machine gun employment in defensive operations. 15 pages. Detailed analysis. Tactical diagrams. Training recommendations. Every principle Paige had invented, every technique he'd proven, now official doctrine for every Marine division in the Pacific. His name still didn't appear, but his influence was everywhere. In every machine gun position, every defensive perimeter, every Marine who survived because someone taught them to move, adapt, and refuse to quit. Innovation spreads through results, not recognition. Paige's results spoke louder than any citation ever could. Hundreds of Marines were alive because one sergeant proved what was possible when everything seemed impossible. The doctrine was written, the techniques were proven, the legacy was secure. The 15th of August, 1945, Okinawa. Paige received word. Japan surrendered. War over. Pacific theater operations ceased. No more combat. No more defensive positions. No more night attacks. After 9 years in the Marines, 3 years combat, the shooting stopped. Paige was 27 years old. Felt 50. 3 campaigns: Guadalcanal, Cape Gloucester, Peleliu, Okinawa. 4 major battles, 37 defensive engagements, 7 Purple Hearts, 1 Medal of Honor, more scars than he could count. September 1945. Paige returned stateside. Honorable discharge. Marine Corps offered promotion to warrant officer. Stay in, train more Marines. Continue teaching. He declined. Wanted civilian life. Wanted normal. Wanted to forget jungle darkness and machine gun fire and men screaming in languages he didn't understand. October 1945. Returned to Charleroi, Pennsylvania. Coal Town. Nothing changed. Same houses, same streets, same people. Everyone knew about the Medal of Honor. Town celebrated quietly. Mining communities understood service. You do your job. You come home. Life continues. Paige didn't talk about the war. Friends asked questions. He deflected. Just did what training taught. Never mentioned that training didn't teach his methods. Never mentioned inventing doctrine under fire. Never mentioned 2 hours 41 minutes alone. Never mentioned 6 dead crew members whose names he heard in silence. November 1945. Paige married Marilyn Weber. Knew her before the war. She'd waited. Small wedding, family only. No military ceremony. No dress blues. No speeches. Just vows. Just commitment. Just 2 people building something after years of destruction. December 1945. Bought small house in Charleroi. Worked at local steel mill, not mining, but similar, hard work. Physical labor, familiar, comfortable, anonymous. Nobody at the mill treated him differently. Medal of Honor didn't matter in steel production, only mattered if you showed up. Did your job. Pulled your weight. That suited Paige perfectly. 1945. 946 to 1949. 3 children born: Robert in 1946, William in 1948, Catherine in 1949. Normal family life: Little League coaching, school events, church on Sundays, PTA meetings, neighborhood barbecues, quiet suburban existence. His children grew up barely knowing their father's war record, knew he had a medal, displayed in living room, behind glass, but didn't know details. Paige never told stories, never described combat, never mentioned Guadalcanal except in passing. Robert asked once, age 12, "Dad, what did you do in the war?" Paige: "Machine guns, defensive positions." Robert: "Did you shoot people?" Paige: "Did my job." Robert: "Were you scared?" Long pause. Paige looking out the window. Finally, "Everyone was scared. You just kept working anyway." That was the only war conversation his son remembered. Short, factual, emotionless. The way Paige preferred it. 1950 to 1953. Korean War. Marines deploying again. Paige not called up. Too old. 32 when war started. Marines wanted younger men, but his techniques deployed. Machine gunners at Chosin Reservoir. At Heartbreak Ridge. Using rotation methods. Using solo operation procedures. Using tactical displacement. Paige's Guadalcanal innovation saving lives in new war, new country, same principles. He watched news reports, saw familiar patterns, Marines holding positions, one machine gun against many, knew those gunners learned from his experience, felt quiet satisfaction, not pride exactly, just satisfaction knowing others survived using techniques he'd proven. 1960 seconds. 1970 seconds. Vietnam War. Another generation. Another jungle. M60 machine guns now. More mobile than M1917. But, same principles. Sustained fire, crew coordination, solo operation, when necessary. The doctrine evolved, the foundation remained. Paige's September 1942 night still teaching Marines 30 years later. He never spoke publicly. Declined interview requests, dozens over the years. Newspapers, magazines, television documentaries, all declined. Nothing to say that matters. Occasionally attended Medal of Honor Society events. Minimum participation. Uncomfortable with attention. Preferred anonymity. Other recipients understood. Some men sought recognition. Some avoided it. Both responses valid. Both respected. His children learned about Edson's Ridge from school textbooks. Not from their father. Read about Sergeant Mitchell Paige. Read about solo defense. Read about 98 confirmed casualties. Read about Medal of Honor. Came home confused. Catherine, age 16. Dad, there's a story in my history book about you. Paige. What's it say? Catherine. Says you held a position alone for over 2 hours. Killed almost 100 Japanese soldiers. Saved Henderson Field. Paige. Books got the facts mostly right. Catherine. Why didn't you ever tell us? Paige. Didn't seem important. Happened long time ago. Different life. Catherine. You won the Medal of Honor. Paige. 6 other Marines died that night. They deserved medals too. Didn't get them because they didn't survive. I survived. That's the only difference. The conversation ended there. Paige returned to reading newspaper. Subject closed. As always. His family learned not to ask. Learned their father carried something he wouldn't share. Couldn't share. Some experiences don't translate to words. Some memories stay locked inside. Sealed behind scars and silence and the weight of surviving when others didn't. They respected his silence. Loved him anyway. The war was his burden, not theirs. He carried it alone. The way he'd carried that position. The way he'd carried everything since the 13th of September 1942. Some, Things never changed. 1,960 seconds. 1,970 seconds. Paige worked steel mill, raised children, lived quietly. Vietnam War started, escalated, American involvement deepening. Marines deploying, fighting jungle warfare again. Different country, same tactics, same machine gun doctrine. Same principles Paige invented 20 years earlier. He watched television news, saw footage from Vietnam, saw machine gun positions, saw defensive perimeters, saw Marines using rotation techniques, moving between positions, solo operation when necessary. His innovation, his doctrine, still working, still saving lives, still relevant. But he never spoke about it, never claimed credit, never contacted military historians, never gave interviews. Reporters occasionally called. Wanted stories about Guadalcanal, about Medal of Honor, about Edson's Ridge. He declined every request. His children grew up barely knowing his war record. They knew the medal existed, saw it once, in velvet case, in drawer, but didn't know details, didn't know what it meant. Paige never told them. Marilyn knew, but respected his silence. Never pushed, never insisted. Understood some experiences couldn't be shared, some memories too heavy to speak aloud. 1982. Military historian named John Lane contacted Paige, working on comprehensive Guadalcanal history, multiple interviews with survivors, building complete narrative. Wanted Paige's account, offered to travel to Pennsylvania, conduct interview at Paige's convenience, promised sensitivity, promised accuracy, promised no sensationalism. Paige declined initially, said no, same as always. But Lane persisted, sent letters, explained importance. Historical record incomplete without Paige's testimony. Primary sources dying, veterans aging, stories disappearing. This might be last chance to document truth. Marilyn read the letters, talked to Paige, argued gently, maybe it's time, maybe people should know, not for you, for the others, for the 6 who didn't come home. That argument worked. Not for himself. For Kelly, McNabb, Totman, Leipart, Gaston, Johnson. Their story deserved telling. Their sacrifice deserved recording, even if speaking about them tore open 40-year-old wounds. The 15th of October, 1982, John Lane arrived at Paige's home, Charleroi, small house, working-class neighborhood. Lane brought tape recorder, notepad, questions prepared. Paige made coffee. They sat at kitchen table. Marilyn left them alone. Lane. Thank you for agreeing to this. Paige. For the others. Not for me. Lane. Understood. Can we start with September 13th, 1942? Paige paused. Long silence. 40 years compressed into moment. Finally, yes. For 2 hours Paige described everything. First time complete story told. First time he explained his thinking. The assault, the crew deaths, the decision to stay, the rotation system development, the ammunition management, the movement patterns, the psychological warfare, the mathematical calculations running through his mind. How he knew, the odds, how he stayed anyway. Lane listened, took notes, asked clarifying questions, never interrupted unnecessarily. Professional, respectful. Understanding this was difficult. Understanding 40 years of silence breaking. Lane. Were you afraid? Paige. Too busy to be afraid. Fear requires thinking about yourself. I was thinking about the gun, about ammunition, about cooling times, about movement angles, no space left for fear. Lane. Did you think you'd survive? Paige. Didn't think about it. Survival wasn't the mission. Holding position was the mission. That's all that mattered. Lane. Why didn't you retreat when your crew died? Long pause. Paige looked out window. Autumn afternoon, Pennsylvania trees, 40 years from Guadalcanal. 40 years from that night. Finally, they were counting on me. Lane, your crew was already dead. Paige, not just them. Every Marine at Henderson Field, every pilot, every aircraft, everyone behind that position, they were all counting on it holding. Someone had to hold it. I was the only one left, so I held it. Simple logic, simple duty, nothing heroic in his telling, just mathematics. Position required holding. He was available, therefore he held it. Lane, do you think anyone else could have done it? Paige considered. Any Marine could have, just needed to be necessary. Desperation makes you innovative, fear makes you creative. When quitting means death, not just yours, but everyone behind you, you find solutions. You adapt. You survive. 1984, Lane's book published. Guadalcanal, the definitive account. 800 pages, comprehensive history. Chapter 7, Edson's Ridge. 30 pages on September 13 to 14, 1942. 10 pages on Paige. Accurate, restrained, factual, exactly as Paige requested. Book became bestseller. Military history circles, academic circles. Marine Corps professional reading list. Paige's name re-emerged. New generation learning story. Veterans who'd never known details suddenly, understanding. Media interest renewed. Paige declined interviews again. Book was enough. Story was told. Nothing more to add. But invitations came. Medal of Honor Society annual meeting. Marine Corps birthday ball. Guadalcanal campaign reunion. Washington, D.C. ceremonies. Marilyn convinced him to attend one. September 1985. Guadalcanal reunion. Washington, D.C. 43 years after the battle. 200 veterans gathered. Men in their 60s and 70s now. Grey hair, reading glasses, walking canes, but still Marines. Paige attended reluctantly. Wore civilian clothes, tried staying anonymous in crowd. Didn't work. Other veterans recognized him, approached, shook hands, some with tears, some with stories. One machine gunner, Sergeant Robert Chen, approached. Sir, I served Korea, used your techniques. Chosin Reservoir. My crew took casualties. I operated solo for 30 minutes. Held my position. Survived because you proved it possible. Because you showed us how. Marine, Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Bailey. Vietnam, sir. K-San, taught my crews your rotation system, saved us during siege, multiple times. We held because you taught us how. More stories, more Marines, different wars, different battles, same techniques, same doctrine, same principles. All traced back to one night. One desperate stand, one sergeant refusing to quit. Paige listened, accepted thanks awkwardly, uncomfortable with praise, but moved, understanding finally. His September night hadn't just saved Henderson Field. Had saved hundreds of Marines across 4 decades, across 3 wars. His innovation rippling through time. Through conflicts he never fought, through situations he never imagined. The ceremony concluded. Paige stood beside memorial wall, names of Guadalcanal dead. He found 6 names: Kelly, McNabb, Totman, Lepart, Gaston, Johnson. Touched each name, stood silently. Another veteran approached. Older man, 70s. Walked with cane. I was at Henderson Field, September 14th. Aircraft mechanic. We heard about the fight. Heard one Marine held the ridge alone. Didn't believe it. Thought it was exaggeration. But it was true. You saved us all. Paige nodded. Said nothing. Just stood there. Hand on Kelly's name. Understanding finally why he survived. Not luck. Not skill. Purpose. His survival meant others survived. His innovation meant doctrine evolved. His refusal to quit meant Marines learned quitting wasn't option. The silence ended. The story told. The legacy understood. Finally, 1990 seconds. Paige's health declining. 72 years old. Hands still scarred from 1,942 burns. Chronic pain, arthritis in fingers, hearing loss worsening. Right ear completely deaf, left ear diminishing, but mind sharp, memory intact. Every detail from September 13th, 1942, still clear, still working part-time at steel mill. Light duty. Maintenance supervisor. Not operating machinery, just overseeing, ensuring safety, ensuring proper procedures. Couldn't retire. Completely. Needed purpose. Needed work. Idleness felt wrong. His children grown. Robert, engineer. William, teacher. Catherine, nurse. Good lives, productive careers. Families of their own, grandchildren now, 5 total, growing up in world far removed from Guadalcanal, from Edson's Ridge, from machine gun positions in darkness. Paige watched grandchildren play, thought about September 13th, about why it mattered, about what he'd preserved. Not just Henderson Field, not just air superiority, but this, normal life, children playing, families intact. Peace. The war's entire purpose contained in these small moments. September 1995, 50th anniversary ceremonies. Guadalcanal Veterans Gathering, Washington, D.C. National Ceremony. Marine Corps Memorial. 200 survivors attending. Paige among them. Marilyn convinced him to go. Others want to see you. Need to see you. You owe them that much. Ceremony at Iwo Jima Memorial. Speeches, color guard, Marine band, formal honors. Paige sat in, audience, uncomfortable with attention, but present, representing, remembering. After ceremony, reception. Marines approaching, some he knew from 1942. Most strangers. But all knew his name, knew Edson's Ridge, knew what September 13th meant. Machine gunners especially. Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans, young Marines just completing training, all learning Paige doctrine, all studying his techniques, all understanding innovation born from necessity. One young corporal approached, 22 years old, fresh from machine gun school. Sir, they teach your tactics first week. The Paige principle. Sustained defense through tactical displacement. Every Marine machine gunner learns it. You changed how we fight. Paige uncomfortable. Just did what was necessary. Corporal. But you proved it possible. Before you, everyone thought solo operation was suicide. After you, it's doctrine. You changed what Marines believe is possible. That statement struck Paige. Changed what Marines believe is possible. He'd never considered that. Never thought about psychological impact beyond that one night. But Corporal was right. By surviving impossible situation, he'd expanded definition of possible. Proved one Marine could hold against hundreds. Proved desperation enabled innovation. Proved quitting wasn't inevitable when odds seemed overwhelming. Other veterans shared similar thoughts. His example taught more than tactics, taught mindset, taught refusing to accept defeat, taught that doctrine wasn't sacred, mission was, that survival required adaptation, that innovation came from necessity, not theory. The 15th of November 2003, Mitchell Paige died, age 85. At home, Marilyn beside him, children present, peaceful death, natural causes, long life completed, funeral, Arlington National Cemetery, full military honors, Marine Corps body bearers, rifle salute, bugler playing taps, flag presented to Marilyn, folded precisely, 13 folds, triangle, stars visible, attendance, 300 people, family, friends, Marines from every era, Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans, Iraq War veterans who'd just returned, some still in combat utilities, fresh from deployment, coming to honor man who'd defined their profession 60 years earlier. Burial near other Medal of Honor recipients, simple headstone, standard issue, nothing elaborate, name, rank, Dates: Medal of Honor citation reference. Service dates: 1936 to 1952. Combat: Guadalcanal, Cape Gloucester, Peleliu, Okinawa. No mention of September 13, 1942, specifically. No need. Every Marine knew, every machine gunner knew. His name synonymous with that night, with that stand, with that innovation. After ceremony, Marines gathered. Shared stories. Not about Paige directly. About techniques they'd used. Situations they'd survived. Positions they'd held. All tracing back to doctrine he'd invented. To principles he'd proven. To mindset he'd demonstrated. One Master Sergeant, 3 tours Iraq, told his story. Fallujah, 2004. My position took casualties. I operated solo for 40 minutes, held junction point, prevented breach. Survived because Sergeant Paige proved it possible 62 years earlier. Because he showed us how. Because his doctrine saved my life. Others nodded. Similar stories, different wars, different countries, different enemies. Same techniques, same principles. Same refusal to quit. Paige's influence, spanning 7 decades, 3 major wars, countless smaller conflicts, hundreds of Marines alive because one sergeant invented doctrine under fire. Because one Marine refused to abandon position. Because one man proved impossible was just another problem requiring solution. The gathering dispersed. Marines returning to bases, to units, to families. Carrying forward legacy they'd inherited. Teaching next generation, maintaining tradition. Ensuring September 13th, 1942, remained relevant, remained vital, remained foundational to how Marines fought. Paige was buried. But his innovation lived. His doctrine continued. His example persisted. Not in monuments, not in speeches. In every machine gun position, every defensive perimeter, every Marine who faced overwhelming odds and remembered one sergeant on Guadalcanal who proved quitting wasn't necessary. That was legacy. That was immortality. Not fame. Not recognition. Just Marines surviving because one Marine showed them how. The ultimate measure of any innovation. Did it save lives? Paige's innovation saved thousands. Across decades. Across conflicts. Still saving lives today. That answered every question about whether September 13th, 1942, mattered. About whether one Marine's stand changed anything. About whether individual action affected history. Mitchell Paige proved one Marine could change everything. Could hold impossible position. Could invent necessary doctrine. Could refuse to quit when quitting seemed only rational choice. His grave remained. His memory continued. His doctrine endured, and Marines kept fighting, kept holding positions, kept refusing to quit. Because one sergeant on one ridge on one night in 1942 showed them it was possible. If this story of Sergeant Mitchell Paige moved you the way it moves us every time we research it, do us a favor right now. Hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to share this story with more people, and these stories deserve to be remembered. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because we're bringing you forgotten stories from World War II every single week. Real people, real innovation, real consequences. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Texas, Germany, Australia, Japan? Our community stretches around the entire world. You're not just a viewer, you're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Mitchell Paige held Edson's Ridge for 2 hours and 41 minutes, alone, against 400 Japanese soldiers. With 3 machine guns and determination nobody taught him. He invented tactics under fire that every military still teaches today. That's not legend. That's history. That's one Marine refusing to let his position fall. Thank you for watching. Thank you for remembering. These men deserve better than silence, and you're helping make sure their stories survive.